All right, this is Obey on behalf of V Electronics, and in this video we'll be talking about a perspective on environmental standards, okay, when it comes to high and low income countries. All right, so developed and developing nations. All right, so when it comes to environmental perspective, okay, high income countries or developed world usually have high expectations when it comes to environmental standards and protection. Okay. The reason why is because environmental protection is not considered a luxury, but rather a necessity. Okay, for everybody to live a healthier life and for sustainability in terms of the environment itself. Okay. So, general view in a low income country on the other side is one of survival. Okay, where developing world is usually concerned about having enough to eat, decent health care, longer life expectancy, education, so on and so forth. Okay, environment, okay, may be on their list, but it may not be on top of their list. Okay, as a result of which there is a gap between the environmental standards, okay, when it comes to high and low income countries. All right, so let me write this down over here. This is gap. Okay, when it comes to standards, okay, when where it comes to environmental standards. All right, and this environmental standard, okay, this gap in environmental standard, okay, comes with two possibilities. Okay, so two possibilities may result from this gap. Number one is race to the bottom. Okay, so there's a theory called race to the bottom. So you have race to the bottom. Okay, now this theory basically says that okay, multinational corporations and companies may seek low-income countries or developing world to build their facilities. Okay, because of things like a low cost of production, okay, low employee wages and benefits, so on and so forth. Okay, so profit seeking. All right. So, say for example, okay, if a company goes ahead and builds a plant or a facility in a low-income country, it is more concerned, or it may be more concerned about reduced cost of production in general. Okay, however, this is in theory. Okay, this is theory, so to speak. And this may not always be the case because when it comes to the real world, okay, companies not only have to worry about getting a location which is close to customers, companies don't just worry about uh, getting a location so close to customers. This is close to customers. Okay, transportation. This is transportation. Okay, cost of labor. Okay, you have cost of labor. Okay, you've got financial capital. Okay, electrical power networks and communication. So communication, okay, plus electrical power networks. Okay, and most importantly, things like lawsuits, environmental disasters. So lawsuits because of environmental disasters, lawsuits and compensation. Because of environmental disasters, because of disasters, environmental disasters. Okay, you have lost trust and reduced sales. So this is lost trust and reduced sales, so on and so forth. So even though the cost of labor might be less in a developing country, okay, even though okay, the cost of production may be less. Okay, it's possible that it may not be close to customers. So even though they may be producing a product in a developing country, they might need to export that product to the developed world for the final assembly, for example, or to deliver it to customers. Okay, there are many companies that have facilities both in the developed world and the developing world, where in the developed world they carry out the design process, for example, and in the developing world they carry out the assembly process. All right, once the product is assembled, once the product is finished, they then ship that product back to the developed world, where they sell it to the retailers, the wholesalers, the distributors, and to consumers. All right, so just because they find a location in the developing world, it doesn't necessarily mean that that location is close to customers, which means they will end up paying for transportation and shipping. All right. Now, apart from that, you also have to consider financial capital. Okay, firms would need to transfer some of their financial capital into a foreign country for them to build a production facility. All right. Now, apart from that, you also have communication and electrical power networks. Okay, some developing countries do not have the kind of infrastructure, uh, the kind of road infrastructure, electrical infrastructure, communication infrastructure that we see in the developed world. Okay, as a result of which, it becomes increasingly difficult for a production facility and a multinational corporation or a company to operate in this kind of environment. Okay, not to mention they have to worry about lawsuits and compensation because of environmental disasters, factory relevant disasters, okay, disasters in a warehouse, okay, so on and so forth. So as a result of which, if you have those kind of disasters, okay, you will basically end up paying in lawsuits. Okay, you will end up paying compensation for injuries, as a result of which your cost of production will go up. Okay, and as the cost of production goes up, you also lose trust, okay, when it comes to your consumers as well as the general public, where your production facility is located. Okay, and it leads to reduced sales, right? Because your sales go down as customers or consumers stereotype your production facility or your company that leads to pollution or that produces pollution. Okay, they do have restrictions. Okay, when it comes to a trade, when it comes to import and export. in many countries. Okay, as a result of which you have higher environmental standards. Okay, so for example, there are restrictions when it comes to trade of ivory in certain countries. Okay, international trade, as a result of which, okay, you have a reduced amount of poaching. Okay, so the idea here is, okay, to have some kind of intervention that reduces pollution in general, or that reduces um, pollution as a result of globalization. All right, and basically, what the economists say is that if you put some kind of restriction on international trade, okay, as well as pay for some of the solutions relevant to environmental disasters and pollution, such as smog towers, you do have a chance, okay, to improve the environmental standards in those countries in developing world. Okay, so examples include things like building smog towers, okay, in the developing world, which will reduce pollution. Things like building national parks, okay, planting more trees, okay, so on and so forth. Okay, so this will reduce pollution from industries and globalization, as a result of which the companies and corporations will be able to um, build their production facilities in these countries. All right, so that will be it when it comes to environmental standards, okay, and pollution. Okay, this is Obaid on behalf of V Electronics. Have yourself a great day.